So welcome everybody to Webinar Wednesday for our February session. Slightly later than our normal sessions, which usually take place on the first Wednesday of every month. My name is Stuart Lawler. I'm Head of Digital Content here at Sight and Sound Technology. And joining me today is my colleague Sharon Lyons, also from Sight and Sound Technology. And today's very special guest is Daniel Lubiner from the TouchPad Pro Foundation, who's come along today to talk to us about the Braille Doodle. And indeed, Daniel has participated on one of our Sight and Sound Technology podcasts previously, and I think you'll hear him again in the very near future. So lots to talk about today about the Braille Doodle. I know a lot of people are very interested in this device. We've been getting a couple of questions about it lately, so very excited. Daniel and some of his colleagues actually have joined us from TouchPad Pro, so there will be a few contributions during the next little while. Your questions and comments are, of course, more than welcome. You can raise your hand if you wish by activating the raise hand button on Windows with Alt and Y. Or if you're using the mobile Zoom app, you can access the raise hand option on your app under the More Options area. And you can also do likewise by putting a message in chat, and Sharon will be keeping an eye on chat and I'll be keeping an eye on raised hands. We will have plenty of time for questions after the main presentation. So I'm very pleased to hand over to Daniel Lubiner, and you're very welcome again to Webinar Wednesday, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you. And welcome everyone. And I'm really excited about this. One thing I could tell you is I shared on social media and perhaps on also on some emails that the wrong link, the link I was supposed to use. So if you could, I'd like you to. That's my parrot. The parrot's the size of my fist. It's very colorful, but very annoying sometimes, especially when I'm not paying attention to her on a Zoom call, so she wants attention. So I'm going to leave for a minute. But as I'm leaving and putting her in the oven, in her nesting place where she likes to go, can you please change your name? So you go to the participants section and all the names pop up. Then there should be 3 dots or something, or you click on your name and there's 3 dots. Actually, I don't even know.
I think actually, Daniel, we can do this ourselves. So we will move the people who are currently sitting as panelists into the audience, which I think will be easier.
Just say your name in the comments. Say your name in the comments.
Some people have already done that.
You go and sort out your parrot, and we'll look after that while you're gone.
Okay, very good.
All right. Okay, so while Daniel is gone, we're just going to move the rest of these guys into the audience.
Oh, just to let everyone know that the changing of names was just for people who are on the panel, because they all logged in with the same name. So you don't have to, if you're a participant, you don't have to change your name. Don't worry about that.
Thanks, Sharon.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, she's in the oven, 350 for 20 minutes. Come out nice and crispy. But yeah, let me begin. I joke around a lot, so if I joke and you don't understand it, I was raised on British humor, by the way. Monty Python, Beatles, loved them. And so I do joke around a lot. That's like part of my nature. So if you don't understand anything, please ask me. Were you serious? No, probably not. I started out a child. No, okay, I gotta stop being silly. All right, so originally I was an actor. I was an actor for some time. I even came to London to study acting. I was very serious about it, but it didn't work out that good. I didn't have a lot of motivation. And then, I felt like the world was against me and I couldn't make it. So I decided to go back to school, and I wanted a family. I wanted a wife and family. So I went back to school, and I got my master's degree in special education. And I started teaching right away in high school for emotionally disturbed kids. And that was like my thing for a long time. I wanted to work with kids who have mental problems like me, you know. There was no special education when I was a kid. When I was a kid, we all went to the little room. Like everybody's going to the little room. There's Daniel going to the little room. You know, he goes to the little room for reading and writing. And now it's special education, and they keep changing it, right? So you're learning disabled, you're severely learning disabled, you're retarded. Not anymore. No, you're not retarded, you're not learning disabled. Now you are other health impaired. That, you know, because, you know, so we keep things going, but they're making more sense now too. So over the 25 years, I had the privilege to teach all types of different kids. Down syndrome, elementary school kids who could not read. And I taught them their first words, their first sentences, and watched them become readers. Another wonderful thing is when you're a teacher of special education, you could have kids for multiple years. You can have kids for like 4 or 5 years because they keep staying in the same school. So they come to you at different points of the week and you watch them grow. And it's a wonderful thing. So and then I even taught high school kids, you know, English, self-contained situations in which I had emotionally disturbed kids again, you know, where I teach every single subject. So it's like one of those schools where it's like one school, one room schoolhouse, and I'm the school. But so I had all different types of situations. It helped me grow. It helped me learn so much over the years. And I've always been into the arts, of course, the drama and everything. But I also wanted to, you know, teach the arts. And at one point, I started something called Arts for Everyone, because my son is on the autistic spectrum. And as you could tell, I'm just very open in my life. And if you judge me, that's okay. I'm 56 years old. You could judge away. I'm over it. But so as I was saying, my son is on the autistic spectrum, and and after getting over the devastating part and all that stuff, we saw what a wonderful child he is, what possibilities he has, and especially the arts. The arts can really connect people because there's no failure. If you do it right, you can't fail. It's one thing that everybody could be successful with. And people have dreamed, sometimes of being an artist if you're a sighted person or, you don't have any disabilities. And you're like, I'm not really a good artist. I've tried. Okay, and I'm going to tell you that's BS. Because there's something out there that you could do to be creative. There's writing. There's abstract painting is just so much fun. So there's wonderful, wonderful things. Okay, so that's my little speech for that. So we move on, and I am hired into a position that I found, and it was just wonderful. I actually took a $10,000 pay cut just to take this position because it was a private school. So I took a $10,000 pay cut, and I went to the New York Institute for Special Education in the Bronx in New York City. And at the time, we had a school for emotionally disturbed kids, and I was the art teacher for the emotionally disturbed. It was fun. Actually, I was a place of freedom. Like, they could come there and be successful. So most of the time it was fine. We did have occasional art supplies flying across the room, people attacking other people, people attacking themselves, that sort of thing. So I had to learn how to restrain people and all that type of stuff, all that type of fun stuff. But then the person who was in the other position, we had 2 art classes. One was for the blind, one was for the emotionally disturbed. Well, the emotionally disturbed population went down from like 10 classes to about 3. And then, so what they did is he became the vice principal rather. So the other art teacher became the vice principal, and they came to me and they said, you know, we have faith in you. You could take over the whole institute and teach everybody art. No problem. Bring it on. No, I was terrified. Okay. And it was pretty scary because, you know, all of a sudden I had to see 100 blind kids and low vision kids a week to teach them art. So they would come once a week, and I would, you know, teach all kinds of kids, and they were kindergartners and all the way up to high school. And so they would come in, and when I first went in there, I was terrified. I didn't know if I was going to say the wrong thing, and I didn't know if I was going to do the wrong thing. And, you know, but so quickly, after just like a week or so, I was feeling comfortable. I was like, there was no reason for my fear. These are not blind kids. These are not blind teenagers. These are teenagers who have crushes, who have hobbies, who like to do music. There's a whole blindness spectrum. Nobody knows about this. Nobody tells us that there's a whole spectrum of blindness, from someone who is completely blind to someone who could practically make things out when they have glasses on. So we don't do that.
Daniel, I'm sorry for jumping in. I hope I didn't want to break your flow. We just a couple of messages on chat from people who are 1 or 2 teachers who are very pressed for time and would love to see the Braille Doodle. So I don't know if you maybe have a way of maybe showing us that now and coming back.
Let me do that. I'm doing my bio and long version.
Yeah, sorry about that. And we would love to hear more about
no
you
worries.
later on.
I'm glad they said something.
Yeah,
I'm glad they said something, and I'm glad, you know, to be able to have the BrailleDoodle right here in my hand and show it to you. And I'm going to turn off this blurry screen because it will mess things up. Done. Okay. And so anyway, all of this experience and working with the blind and everything has led to the BrailleDoodle. The pandemic hit, everybody went home. Okay, they had nothing in their hands. And then I found out that's a problem all over the world. Okay, pandemic or no pandemic, kids are not learning Braille. In the United States, you know, our rich, passionate country that could spend $1 trillion on bombs in a heartbeat, cannot have enough money to get supplies and things for kids who are blind and low vision. Same things in UK. Same, and in India, a country like India that I've become very fond with, and we're working together, people in India, it's 1%. So you're telling me 99%, you know, of kids who are blind cannot read or write. And we expect them to do something with their lives. So I'm just become a total Braille advocate. And I just took all of my skills of teaching reading and put all my ideas about what the kids have told me, what I've learned from the kids, asking the kids questions, asking TVI's questions, asking teachers questions, saying, what would you want? What would you need? Okay, how would you teach Braille over a Zoom call? We had to teach kids over a Zoom call. There was no art instruction. There was nothing, you know. Anyway, so this is the BrailleDoodle. What it basically is on the front here is the Braille side. On this side is the Doodle side. So the Doodle side has, well, in the end, it's going to have 1,360 little balls that come up and down. And on this side, Braille side, it's been set up to teach reading as reading is supposed to be taught. That's how we teach sighted people how to read. So we don't do one letter at a time. We do one letter And this first cell, okay, I can push back down. I have the dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we tell them about the dots, and we could do this over Zoom, or mom and dad could do it because the letter is right here. The letter A and number 1. So they know A is 1. Okay. In the first cell, you cannot bring up anything, but they're false dots. You could only bring up the letter A. So you feel what that's like. What is that like in there? Okay, practice it again. Do it again. Okay, I'll push it down. I'll do it again. Repetition, repetition, repetition. Then you're modeling here. This is where you're modeling. This is where you're practicing. So right next to it is a cell that all the dots will come up in, right? So you can mess up, okay? But what you're going to do is you're going to feel this around. There's even little ridges here, so you could feel the rectangle and where that goes. So you match the rectangle and you copy the A. Okay. So, but I could do it like this. I could feel the A and I go like this. Okay. And I know there's teachers in the room and you guys know this, right? What are you going to do? You're going to have the kids self-discover, teach themselves if they've done it correctly. Did you do it correctly? Let me not just show you that you did it correctly. You find out. Okay, let me see. I did this. Seems to be up here in the corner, and this one. So let's count those dots again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So which dot did you bring up? The number 2. Right, so push it back down and go up, and let's match that number 1. So you could do AA, right? And now you go down to the bottom, and we do this with sighted kids, right? We say, okay, here are, it's be 39 cells. It's actually be 2 things of them. So 39 cells. I want you to write 39 A's, A. And you could tell that there's accuracy here. I'm not bringing up the other pegs. And the other magic of it, I call it the $60,000 question, because it costs $60,000 and months to get this right. I could rub my hand on it, okay, and they don't fall. I could feel it up and down, they don't fall. If I go like this, they all go down. Okay, that's because behind them are little springs. Each hole has a tiny little plastic spring that the ball goes through, and it holds it up just enough that someone could feel it, but then push it down when they want to.
Daniel, sorry,
Yeah,
could you
go
just
ahead.
could you just
Interrupt me,
explain?
I'm very good at talking, obviously. So I went for 20 minutes straight, so please interrupt me.
No, it's grand. Could you just explain the size? There's some people who are wondering what size the cells
Oh,
are.
right. I'm sorry. Yeah, I usually do this for both blind and sighted people. And let me explain to you what it is as a, if you are not able to see my screen. Okay, so what I'm holding is an object that's about the size of a large laptop. Okay, so it's about the same size as my laptop, 16-inch Apple laptop. It's thicker, like it's almost like 1.5 laptops piled on top of each other. So that's about how thick it is. It's pretty heavy, but we're working on that. We're going to take down the weight a bit, so we don't want it to be too heavy to not go in backpacks. But right now, it could still go in a backpack. Okay. It is, yeah, weighs about as large as a big heavy laptop, you know, maybe one of the older ones. But we're working on that. What else? So as I was explaining, up top is the whole alphabet, A, B, C, all the way done. And each alphabet letter has 2 cells. So one is for explaining what the letter is, and the other one is to practice it. There is also underneath it is the capital letter A, the number 1, and they will also be tactile. So you'll be able to feel what the letter A feels like and feel what the number 1 feels like. And next to that is an example of real Braille. Okay, is the A, it's a small rectangle, and you'll be able to feel with, you know, one finger what the actual Braille feels like, which seems to be missing in a lot of things. Okay, I don't understand. They give you all these pegs and things like that, and you know, pegs flying across the room, and but there's not many examples that have real Braille on as examples, so you can feel the difference. Also, the top is jumbo Braille. It's a little larger than jumbo Braille, so you're able to feel it with, you know, where we have a future with adults too. We're kind of focused on kids right now because you don't want to be all over the place trying to scatter, but adults are going to find this very useful too, because they're going to be learning Braille with the jumbo Braille. So the jumbo Braille is a little larger than the Braille on the bottom. So on the bottom, it's actually going to be 2 rows. So right now it's 3, but we're changing the prototype to the new made for manufacturing now, right? So we have 3 lines here that are all Braille cells. So each one of them is divided up into 6s, and they have a little space between. Another cool thing that I was like, okay, so we'll take away 1 line of Braille because we wanted to get rid of some of the weight. So that's a lot of weight, is a lot of these steel balls, right? They cause a lot of weight. So we took out the weight, but I was like, hold on, what if we have the full alphabet in order the way any person would read it on a page? Like if someone wrote it out on a Braille reader, how would they you know, feel it as it came out onto the page? So that will be along the bottom. And also what will be along the bottom is the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Full sentence, period, capital. So they could, everyone could feel what a sentence feels like. So a full sentence will be able to be there right in front of them. And they might be able to copy it up here. Or as teachers, we could say, okay, we just practiced the Z. We brought the Z down here. We made, you know, 50 Zs. Now find the Z in the sentence. Find the Z in the alphabet. And that's another way we teach reading. Now, I know I'm going on and on, but I love this thing and we have to get to the other side. But there's one last thing that's very important, okay? First of all, you know, I'm so excited because I'm learning Braille. This is my name, DANIEL. Now, how hard would it be to make that word on many of our devices that we use today? Just that word. You know, many things you maybe click together and they take up the size of a desk. Can you take it on an airplane? Can you take all these pieces in your car? No, it's all here. It's all self-contained. It's a pen that's attached to it with a little elastic-like thing so you can't lose the pen. Now, the other thing, and I'm not going to claim to spell this correctly, but Daniel is, it's not even working, or today is Daniel's birthday. Okay, which it is, by the way. Thank you very much. Happy birthday. You know, just buy Braille Doodles. That's all you gotta do. But so what we're doing is you can write entire sentences. So that is leaps and, now there's just nothing that does that, right? You can't find things that you're writing sentences and being able to practice and going from letters to words to sentences and feeling the actual examples. And then I see these prices like, oh, there's a Braille cell that swings open from APH and is how much? $80? And it has pegs, and they know that you're going to lose the pegs because those kids are going to stick them up their nose and in their ears and, swallow them. So we have extra pegs for you, though, for $5. It's just become outrageous. It takes the end user out of the equation. Okay. It's all, you have to go through government or this or subsidies, and it's become quite a racket. But without further ado, I want to, show you the back, right? So the back, for those who cannot see what I'm holding, is, I forget how I divided it up, but it is 1,360. So if you do like the approximate square root of that, you'll find the, I'm good with math, right? Okay, but now on this side, because we have all these things and it's an array of, dots that we could build up, we could say, okay, kid, I want to talk to you about circles today. Let me show you. Circles about like this. And now I just made a circle on the board. Now, so feel the circle, see what it's like, and now you try and make a circle instantaneously. Okay. Now let's get rid of the circle. So I'm going to take this stylus and I'm just going to swipe it. And as I'm swiping it, you can hear that all the balls are falling down. Now this is the final result is going to be bouncing and behaving much better than this. You'll see when I drag this up, many of the balls come up, but sometimes they're being stubborn. But if you see, this is kind of the way it's going to perform. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm dragging the stylus up the side and I'm getting a full line of balls. And again, each one of these balls has a little spring under it. So that way they don't fall down until I push them down. Okay, so I can sit there and feel them, scrub them, whatever I want to, and they won't fall down. But you could push down and erase it time and time and again. And what do we have that could do that, ladies and gentlemen? Not much of anything, right? They have erasers, but they're kind of like these, what are they called? Like things you hold and rub back and forth, and I'll get to all these questions. Thank you all for the questions, and please keep them coming. What I'll do is after I'm done with this last thing, I will go down the questions and answer all of your questions. So we're also going to have these stencils. So stencils on the regular product is going to slide and lock into place. So it's a long piece of plastic, and in this case, the piece of plastic has a tree and a house. Now, when I first came up with this idea, I was using duct tape and cutting things out and stuff like that. And I brought this to a kid and I was like, listen, what's bigger, a tree or a house? What do you think is bigger? Okay, now for a blind kid who never saw a tree or a house, they don't know. So that's what I said, I don't know, right? And I said, let's find out. And again, that self-discovery, that doing it yourself, the not being handed it and say, okay, well, feel this tactile piece of paper. This is a tree, feel the tree. Okay, this is the house, you have to feel the house. Having all of it that they could do themselves and they did it. I'm like, you drew a dog, you drew a tree, right? More powerful magnet here. So you made the house pop up. Okay, you made the tree pop up. Okay, now you tell me what's bigger. Oh, I see the tree is bigger here. That's right. In this case, the tree is bigger. Okay, but sometimes a tree could be a baby tree, right? It could not be bigger, and the house could be bigger. Or sometimes, get this, maybe this is a road, okay, down here. The house is a little back here. So we're looking at the road at the bottom, the house in the middle, then a tree in the background. So the tree could be even bigger because it's further back. And when we're perceiving things and we get closer to them, they get bigger because we can have mountains in the background. Here's some mountains. I just made some mountains. Now the mountains, you know, they're much smaller. When you get to them, they're much bigger, right? So all the lessons, it just goes on and on and on. And then we get to mathematics. Is there anything, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, is there anything that can make a graph that you could change instantly? So I made a bar graph with a little girl, and it's on the website, you know, and she loved it. She was like, what do I want this for? I want it for graphs. Of all the things she wants it for graphs, because that's her interest, right? So I said, okay, this bar is for the pigs. This bar is for the horses. This bar here is for the dogs, okay? Now, so what is the most animals on the farm? Oh, well, let me tell you, the dogs. That's exactly why graphs exist in the first place, right? So we could find information, we could do it quickly. And since you could count the numbers, you could count it out like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, exactly how many dogs, how many cats, how many whatever. Okay. But then I asked her, like, what if the cows had 20 babies that year? Then what's going to happen? So the graph is going to use to change. It will change, like, so you can make it so that now the cows have the highest line. And there's nothing like that, right? Also, the doodle side will be divided up with an XY graphic, with an XY graphing. So you will be able to use, you'll be able to do XY graphing. Okay, right on here. So kids in college will be able to do graphing equations and not only do that, but manipulate them. So you do a an equation, and you have, I forget what's the name of that, palabra or something. So you have this curve of the equation, okay, but then there's a -2 added onto it. And what do? Well, you hand in your pieces of graphic paper that, you know, we have to throw away now, and then I have to give you another graphic paper that I have to make up. No, we push it down and we say, okay, now the curve is going to come up like this. And on the XY graph, you could count out all of these things. Now, I think there's other things I could cover, but I think I've talked enough, quite enough. And yeah, I've been going for about 40 minutes. I apologize. I said I would do 20 minutes, but this really excites me. And I think you could tell that this is a passion project. And lately I've been telling everyone something, that this is too good to have come from me. I could never have come up with this, you know, just like sitting around. So I say it's a little bit higher power, okay? I'm getting with that a little bit more, but also my higher power were my students. My higher power is my team members who come to me and say, you know what, O&M, I have a blind O&M teacher on my team, and he's telling me, wow, I could draw the hallway for you. I could tell you where the bathroom is. And then I could erase it and do it again. So the ideas just keep coming and coming, almost like, it could drive you crazy. So I'll just let, the professionals take over the leading of the meeting at this point, because I've done enough. Thank you very much for your time, all of you, and for sitting here while I talk about this thing.
Thank you, Daniel. Absolutely fascinating. And sorry we had to, sorry we moved you on slightly at your bio, because I think that in some ways, sometimes when you see things like this, it's the backstory and how you got there is even in some respects more interesting. But this is really, really fascinating. And I know there's loads of things in chat as well, lots of activity in chat. We will go to raised hands as well. Sharon, was there anything you wanted to reference in chat?
There's lots of happy birthdays, Daniel.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Cheers. And it's a very easy website, TouchPad Pro Foundation. So TouchPad Pro was the original name of a whole different invention. I won't go there, but TouchPad Pro Foundation. So TouchPad Pro, just as it sounds, TouchPad Pro, and then you add the word foundation.org. And please take your time. If anything's inaccessible, please let me know so I can fix that up, because there has been some things that always have glitches.
Okay, and Sharon has just helpfully put the TouchPad Pro Foundation in the chat as well. So if you
I hope I got it right.
you did, and there's a really good video
Perfect.
actually on the website that explains TouchPad. I want to bring Peter Stickland, who has had his hand raised for quite a while, so he must have a very sore arm. So Peter, Peter, you should be able to unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear your question. I may need to do that again. Apologies.
Well, maybe
Hi,
when
Peter.
Yeah. Are you there?
Oh, yep. Hello. Oh,
Hi. No, I
still
thought
muted.
we had Peter.
Maybe we'll take a couple questions off of this.
Off the chat. Yeah.
Chat.
Yeah. There's some people asking
while
about,
he's,
is it magnets?
Yeah.
Is it steel balls? Is it working with magnets, or
Right.
it's just
Okay.
springs?
So the stylus, okay, so it's a stylus, and we're making it nice and fat, like a fat pen, so people, we're trying to think of people with multiple disabilities who will be able to handle this better. So the bottom is shaped like a one of those pencil holders, so you can feel where to pinch. Because I noticed blind people don't really know how to hold pencils and stuff. But it has a magnetic thing on the end. The hundreds of balls, they're steel balls, but they're covered with chrome. And this is another thing. I painted the whole thing black. I'm trying, and my new things will be black, because another thing I wanted to pay close attention to is that people on the spectrum, the low vision spectrum, are able to use all of their senses, because my students, most of them were on the spectrum, and they would get down, they would get your noses in the paint, get all dirty. They would, they would get their hands all over the place, and but they want to use all of their senses. And one of their senses could be a little bit of sight that they have left. But it seems like when you go out there and you're looking for devices, you're either magnifiers or you're not magnifiers. Those are your two choices, right? So I'm trying to create a whole new level of things. And this is the best part. I didn't get to the best part. Everything out there is a bloody fortune, okay? $100, $120. I asked somebody how much a certain company that will remain nameless would pay for something, would sell this for. They said $500. $500. I said, okay, maybe, you know, between 300 and 500, but that's still insane. So we are trying as a foundation to disrupt this whole insanity by bringing you something like this for $70. So and this is, but it's an early bird price, guys. So it's just for the Kickstarter. These are going to already, retail stores are buying up certain lots and they're going to sell them for $90. You know, it's just the natural progression of the capitalistic machine. So, yeah, please take advantage of it. The first 1,500 units are going to be $70, and then it goes on. And not only that, but we have two choices on the Kickstarter that's going to happen on Valentine's Day. So on Valentine's Day, we're going to start the Kickstarter, and it's for the love of kids all over the world. We're going to help them out. You can buy one for yourself and 5 for anybody in the world for donations. And in America, that's tax deductible because we're a 501c3. And our mission is to sell as many of these as possible, to give them away as many as possible. So we could get the money revenue, and, you know, the hype, the incredible interest in this, we're looking at giving away millions of dollars in products within a year or so. So it's really exciting. It's very exciting. You know, I went to India for a month, and they have such a need over there. I mean, everywhere there's a need, but I mean, these kids, they don't get out of the house. They're sometimes kept at home, so nobody sees them, you know, and they don't get schooling, you know. Most of them, more than 50, 60%, don't see a school because they take them to school and they say, like, oh, we can't really deal with these kids. Please take them home. So anyway, I'm going all over the place. I apologize. Is this for Braille learners only? Excellent question. Okay, no, it is not. It is for sighted people who want to learn along with their peers, with their, my sister's blind, I want to learn with them. My son is blind, I want to learn with him. And also, we're going to offer something, I shouldn't say this because it's supposed to be top secret, but I'm going to tell you something, top secret. I always feel like that guy, and it slices, it dices, and also you can, but there's more. Okay, there's more thing. When we start the Kickstarter, we're also going to offer something called the Doodle Touch. So the Doodle Touch is going to be the Doodle side. It's going to be less expensive, lighter. It'll have just a back on it, but you'll still be able to put covers in this. Oh, and get this. We could make a cover that's like the Braille side. So you put the cover on and you can learn Braille. But wait, there's more. We can now make Braille sleeves, make Braille covers for every language in the world. So we can make it in Hindi, we can make it in Japanese, we can make it in Swahili, Chinese. Everybody has a different language, all using those 6 dots. But I think in Chinese, it's like 56 different letters or symbols that go into letters. But we can make that now, you know, it's accessible. And $70, it's not like, okay, this could be 300, you know, or $1,000. Yeah, you see things out there that's like $1,000 just for a basic thing. Or a thing that talks and gives you 2 cells. That's $1,200. I'm sorry, you know, you're gonna have to pay $1,200. It talks, but 2 cells? What am I gonna do with 2 cells? That's not how we teach reading, kids. Ask the teachers. If you're developing products, ask the teachers. Sit down with the students, work with the students for hours, okay? Watch the way they work. Do they do things with one hand? No, nobody creates things with one hand. a certain company that's remained nameless, actually 3 of them, are coming out with a touch display screen. Okay, it's a big hype up. It's going to be a miracle of miracles, but it has its issues. Number one, you can't draw on it. Okay, because how can you draw a touch screen and touch it at the same time? You really can't do.
Daniel, as people are getting very excited about this idea of different languages, and is it actually available in different countries now at the moment, or?
Okay, at the moment where we're at is, it's a very exciting time because we're coming out with the Braille Doodle Mini, which is, it's only going to be a limited edition thing because I'm going to give it out to Foundation so everybody sees it. So it'll be a 1/4 size Braille Doodle, and I'll have numbers. Okay, all the numbers and some sight words, right? But the point is everything's coming out in time. It's just going to take some time. And one thing I'm saying on the Kickstarter too, and I don't know how I'm going to pull this off, but I'm going to try my damnedest to pull it off, is to send these to any city that you want. So if you live in London and you want to buy 5 Braille Doodles, I'm going to send it to the Lighthouse in London, or I'm going to send it to Sight and Sound. I hear they're pretty good about this sort of distribution thing. And I got to say, Sight and Sound, can you please send these on to this destination or this destination? And they're going, sure, we'll do it for free. Are you kidding? This is great. But no, but they'll probably also sell this, you know, into the future, which is a wonderful thing. And you know, the prices are going to go up. Things are expensive. Never know what China or India is going to charge for different things. So, you know, I can't guarantee prices. The reason I'm doing the Kickstarter now is so we could get over the big hump. There's a big hump here. It's like $120,000 hump to get this started. You have to make these molds. Once you make the molds, you can make the pieces. So I'm holding up the pieces now. Okay, this is the front of the Braille Doodle. Actually a Doodle Touch. And this is what goes underneath it, which is all the springs, hundreds and hundreds of springs. They attach together after you put all those balls in, and that's how it works. So there's actually 4 things that need to be printed out. So they call those molds. You only have to make the molds once per 1 million pieces. Pretty cool. Yeah, go ahead.
And sorry, Daniel, is it the stencils? There was an interest in the stencils that you were showing as well. They were kind of perspex, weren't they, with the shapes in them? And I think Amy Gordon asked, would there be an option to request or order stencils? Or would you be able to kind of have print letters and teach people print letters and the shapes of print letters?
That is a great idea. Great idea.
It's not mine, that was
Karen. In fact, I'm going to steal that idea and make lots of money. No, I'm not going to steal that idea. But here's a really cool thing. If you're teaching a lesson, say on a certain graph or a certain lesson on a cell, we want to look at the cell and we want to take it apart. So we're calling this the Be Smart device now. Braille, science, math, and art. Be smart. Pretty clever, huh? Okay, but if you're coming up with something in particular, you know, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. See, I'm from New York, so this is the way we talk. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you the exact dimensions of the sliding things. So you could go to anywhere and get a little help and have them laser cut specifically for your thing. So anything could be matched to your lesson that you want to
do. Daniel, just maybe a clarification on the Kickstarter campaign that you're launching on the 14th, isn't that correct?
Correct.
So if people are interested in obviously getting their hands, being one of the early people for the Braille Doodle, and they and they purchase via Kickstarter, when are they likely to get their device?
We're hoping by July, but we're very likely before September 1st.
Okay.
Which is pretty damn good, because I've been watching these other companies. They go on Kickstarter, or they go on the websites, and they go on the internet, and they're selling you, wrist things that could help you, jog from Liverpool to London. And, but they're not working. They collect money for years. They collect grants and stuff, and they still don't have products. So I want to make sure I was not one of them, because they pissed me off. It's like you're taking money from people who are blind and low vision and you're using that for your development. No, that's not right. Okay, so I want to be different. So we have the things, we have the products coming out. I'm getting the new product in the mail in a matter of days. We're going to CSUN. So if anybody's going to be CSUN, please stop by our table. It's going to be really cool. I hope Stevie Wonder comes by, because I always want, oh, Stevie, I love you. Have a Braille Doodle on the house. It's yours. It's a very exciting time, and I'm glad you're all here. I hope you could be a part of it. If you go to the website, the main big, go-to link is a link to go to a form, a Google form that just says, what's your name, what's your email, and how many Braille Doodles do you want for yourself? Like, for example, Sight and Sound now, after this little podcast, he's going to go back and talk to the bosses, and they're going to go on the form, and they're going to say, well, we want to order probably around 150 because we want to get in on this. So they're going to put in, we're going to order 150. But you know what? There's also another line that says, how many do you want to give away? And later you could tell me what city you want to give it away to. So how many do you want? How many do you want to give away? That's it. Name, email, how many do you want? How many do you want to give away? And so it takes about 60 seconds to fill up the form. And what we're hoping, of course, we have no obligation, but what we're hoping is that you come on the first 3 days of the Kickstarter and put those numbers in. Because you know what's going to happen is it's going to skyrocket if we get that first few days. We'll get press coverage, we'll do all kinds of different things if it's the first 3 days. But I'm happy to report to all of you that we have sold, or pre-sold, so it's a pre-sale event, right? We have pre-sold already over I'll put it this way, over $20,000 of Braille Doodles. Even before, just with this thing in my hand and the videos on the website and the explanations and the alt text and everything, we have pre-sold over 20,000. That's going to go out for the first day. But like I said, I need 120,000. So it's still a big leap. So any help that you could provide would be most appreciated.
And
So,
Daniel, just sorry
please,
to interrupt you, but I just had a quick look. I was just making sure I got the full web link to your website there in the chat. I was just having a quick look, and were you right in saying that the one that you were showing us is like a prototype? Because the one that we see on the website it's much more responsive. I know you were kind of trying to do it back to front because you were trying to show us as well, but is that right in saying that? Because people were asking on the chat, how do you actually get it to do multiple dots at the same time? Is it's a bit easier?
Be very responsive, a lot more than this. This was made in China, okay, and it was made quickly because I had to go to India.
Just a kind of an idea of the product. Yeah.
It's warped, so the thing warped on the way over. So it's definitely going to perform better. I'm so happy to go to CSUN with the actual devices. And I think I might stop by Sight and Sound thing. I hear they have a good thing that they run up there. Don't they have that big hoopla assistive technology thing?
Are you talking about CSUN?
Hmm?
Are you talking about CSUN, Daniel?
No, CSUN is where I'm going. You have something in England,
Site Village.
Site Village, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So next
definitely.
year, I'm sure we'll be represented there in Site Village. We'll bring this
Definitely.
up.
Daniel, want to really thank you very much for coming along, especially on your birthday. You had mentioned that to me last time and I'd forgotten it in the intro. So major thanks and happy birthday. And I hope you're going to do
Thank you
something
so
nice
much.
today. I hope everybody has found this. I've certainly found it really, really interesting. TouchPadProFoundation.org is the website. So you can go and find out more about the touchpad, about the Braille Doodle. And of course, as you know already, the Kickstarter campaign starts next week on the 14th of February for the love of blind children everywhere. So Daniel, thanks very much for joining us today. Thanks as always to Sharon for keeping a great eye on the chat and relaying all those comments back to us. And
And if you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm at Daniel TouchPadProFoundation.org. So it's kind of easy to remember that one. So Daniel at TouchPad Pro Foundation. You know, I have an open door policy. I learn tons of stuff from wonderful people around the world. So I'd like to continue to do that.
Sorry, can I just interrupt and say Karen Hedges really wants to know, is the stylus grip designed for left and right-handed people? Very important question.
Yes, yes. It's you know, I did it over one of those pencil grips, but it's not particular to right or left hand.
Okay.
So it's like you will tell the student where to pinch, and it's nice and fat, so it'll take up your hand, and you'll be able to. Because I saw a lot of people. This was just from observation. You know, I took the prototype around. People are taking the stylus in their fists and going like this, right? So because they've never held pens, or, you know, and not many have held crayons even, you know, so that was a good thing to do, you know.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. I got your question in there.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. And thanks again to Daniel, and thanks everybody for joining us. And we'll be back on Wednesday, the 1st of March. Looking forward to seeing everybody then.
Okay, take care.
Okay, thank you. Bye.